some room. Jesus.
We made it.
I gave you some room.
Yeah. Put your seatbelts on, John.
All right.
Are we seating? Are we belting up?
Are we belting up?
Yeah, we're
Locking.
up.
We're locking in.
No belts for you, Ben.
Anyway, so we're here.
Yeah, we are here.
We've got some stuff we want to talk about today. We're going to see if we can get through all of it. But welcome to Max Moment Podcast, episode 0.
Numero uno?
Point,
0.1?
episode 0.5.
We're in the Fozzie.
Yes, we are.
This is brand new to anyone following the channel. This is Justin's
Brand old.
Brand old. Yeah, I've had it for like 5 years now, man. It's not even new stuff. It's just it's my car.
That's your car.
It's got some history in this thing.
Yeah. I think it has a vague sense of like Max Moment before Max Moment. I got this car in 2020, and me and Joe were living together at the time. So
Out in Detroit?
Out in Detroit, yeah. And so I bought this car in 2020, and then I ruined it basically with Joe at my side. No. He was not the angel on the shoulder. I said, hey.
He was the enabler.
He was the enabler.
Absolutely the enabler.
I bought this car for $500. I drove it halfway across the country.
Scammed a man out of
Poor kid.
Yeah, I might have scammed a guy.
It's not scamming if he agrees to it.
You're right.
It was mutual scamming. Mutually beneficial for you.
Scamming.
For me, yeah.
Matt right smack dab in the middle.
Yeah, so, well, anyway, I got it out to Detroit, and I showed Joe this, like, I think it was a Matt Farah video, where he was driving H6 swapped Impreza.
Yep.
And I said, yo, I should do this. And you know what Joe said to me? He goes, you should do that. I'll literally taxi you around in my car while you do it.
I did.
Provided transportation enabling services.
Now let's remember, this was right when COVID hit. We were all home. You had nowhere to be.
Yeah, we weren't going anywhere anyway. So we did that. We H6 swapped it, and then I put it on bags and fancy wheels, and then I've just been driving it ever since. So this car all in cost me like $4,000, maybe $4,500. And I mean, I daily drove it for 4 years. After I put the H6 in it, it always starts and it always runs.
We started it
on
yesterday.
Accident. Yeah, on accident.
It's been sitting in here for a couple months, not that long. But
No. And the thing about it is that it's a 2001 Subaru, and it has very minimal rust on it, which is insane. I mean, when the previous,
unheard of. Is probably
Pennsylvania, no less.
Yeah, from the Rust Belt. But when the previous owner was getting rid of it, he's like, yeah, he got a new car, and he's like, yeah, I think I'm just gonna crush it. I'm like, what? Like, no, I'll give you scrap price for it. And that's how I scammed him. It wasn't a scam. He literally just wanted to get rid of it, and I was more than happy to take it off his hands.
One man's trash.
Yeah, so this is probably the best car that I've ever bought.
How long did it take you to go from the 4-cylinder that was in it to the 6-cylinder that's in it now?
Well,
what did that process look like? Because I know it wasn't taking one engine out and putting another one in.
Yeah. So theoretically, right, it could have been done in a few weeks. But
heard that one before.
Yeah. What happened was it was during COVID, right? And I don't know if you guys remember, but during COVID, especially that first year, the USPS just like screwed up a lot. Like constantly. So I ordered a bulkhead harness it's like all the wires underneath the dash. I ordered it from them, and it took them 3 months. They lost it, and then they found it, and it took them, I think it was 2 or 3 months, like 2.5 months to get me the bulkhead. I was so ready. Like the engine was in, everything was back together. I just had to wait for it. But I mean, realistically, I know these Subarus inside and out. So taking the engine out and putting the new engine in, I mean, I've done it in under 24 hours. so that wasn't the hard part. The H6 bolts in exactly as the H4 does.
The mounts are the same and everything. Yeah.
I used, other than all of the soldered wires on the bulkhead harness, every part I put on the car was OEM. So you can't beat it. It was meant to be in there, basically. So, but yeah, at the end of the journey, it took me like 3 months because of USPS. They suck.
And you did this all at your apartment.
Yes.
Yeah,
In my apartment garage.
There was just
An
like
undisclosed location.
there were a bunch of like dog walkers going around the neighborhood, just kind of poking in the garage every time it was open. I remember there was one time where we had the engine on a stand, the other engine on a tire on the ground, and the guy was walking his dog. He went by and said, "What the hell are you guys doing in there?" And we're like, "Oil change."
Yeah, we did that a few times.
Yeah.
But the other crazy thing is that after I finished the wiring, right, I hooked everything back up, and I turned on the car, and it ran, which was like, hell yeah. I just soldered 250 wires, like, the engine runs, and then I immediately noticed that it had spun a bearing and had rod knock. So I got scammed out of an engine, and I was so pissed the next day. I went out and I pulled an engine, and then we went to O'Reilly's and bought the floor model engine hoist, swapped the engine in under 24 hours, and then took the engine crane back to O'Reilly's and returned it.
They let you return the floor model?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
It's like Harbor Freight, you know, they're loaners. If you can get it in the return window, they're free.
Yeah.
It's a loaner tool.
So this engine came out of a Outback LL Bean edition and a Detroit U-Pull-It salvage yard, and that car had like fucking bullet holes and blood stains all inside of it.
That's the Detroit special right there.
We're trying to pick out the perfect engine. You don't want, if you got a car in a salvage yard and it looks perfect on the outside, then it probably has mechanical issues. So we found this car that looked like it got rear-ended, and then there was bullet holes all in it, and I'm like, well, it wasn't the engine that put it here in the scrapyard.
So the bigger question is, who bought an LL Bean edition? You know, such a big fan of the LL Bean brand that then gets into gunfights.
Yeah, do you think
does the ownership change?
That had to be the third owner.
Well,
at that
I'm
point.
more thinking, were they like crossfire in some like shootout? It's just some soccer mom driving down Woodward, and you know.
I don't want you to put that in my mind, because there was definitely blood all over the car, and I don't want to think about that. That's poor.
Meanwhile, you have to remember, we're pulling this in. I think we're out of the statute of limitations to say this, but
4 years?
it was well, we were on company time. Like I remember, I was on a meeting on mute.
Just don't say where you were working, and that's fine.
It was a meeting I didn't have to say anything in, so it doesn't matter. Like they just saw that my name was in the meeting.
It was an internship.
Oh,
The fact that you joined the meeting was good enough.
Was good enough.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
Yeah,
fire
well,
me.
I was doing the exact same thing at that time. You know, we went remote, and then they just stopped giving me work, but they didn't fire me. Just go out in the garage, turn a few bolts, loosen them, say, it's not right, tighten it. My time didn't matter. After mowing the lawn, that's all I was doing.
But yeah, that's the story. This car has been pretty good to me. It's a lot quicker. Like at GTI, will pull up at a stoplight and they'll see the shiny wheels and they'll think, oh, all they did was put the wheels on the car. And then the light will go green and I'll fucking smoke them. Like GTIs, put them in the bag. WRX is like the 2015 WRX. It's about even. Maybe I think I get a little bit of an edge depending on the jump or if it's.
Well, you're NA and they're
Yeah.
And then it punches way above its weight class, and it's not too fast. I mean, sometimes I'll be driving and it handles its speed pretty well. So I'll just like look down and I'll be like, oh shit, I'm doing 120. It's only fifth gear, so you're already high up in the revs on the highway, and you put your foot down just a hair too much, and all of a sudden you're going way faster than you mean to be. But yeah, it's a good car. It has a few issues here and there. It's a 20-year-old car, so these kind of things happen. So I want to fix it up a little bit more, but overall, it's pretty nice. I don't know. I might sell it. I don't want it to be my daily car anymore. I mean, mind you, I engine swapped it and then daily drove it for 3 years.
How many miles have you put on this thing since the engine swap?
Oh, 50,000.
Jesus.
I drove back and forth.
I was going to say, you went to Detroit and back. You came here and back when you were living in Detroit.
Yeah, dude, I drove this car back to Pennsylvania 3 times in 1 month, which is 1,200 miles, I think. And that was...
Well, so let's see. It's December 8th when we're recording this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
If it goes up, we'll see if you still actually have it.
yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah, so, well, this is probably the best car I bought, and this podcast is supposed to be about the worst cars we ever
I was going to say, I don't think we actually ever said that.
Well, okay, if we want to get on that topic.
You and me both have the same one.
We owned the same car so the aforementioned time when I was working in the garage, I had this shitty little Ninja 250 that was sold to me by meth heads who lived the next town over. And I saw it on the marketplace. This is like first week of COVID. Everyone was panicking. We're not going to have any money. The world's ending. So these people posted their motorcycle for like $500 on marketplace. And
It's like
I
kids in the middle of the woods.
No. We're getting to them. I said, okay, yeah, I'm interested in this. Give me a day. I'll get a trailer. I'll come get it tomorrow. And they said, oh, we can drive it to you today. I'm like, okay, sure. No, they drove it to me. I'd never ridden a motorcycle in my life.
You can't.
They said, all right, like, do you want to take it for a test drive? I'm like, no. You drove it here. That's good enough for me. I handed them $600 and
600. Pay them a delivery fee.
something like that.
Something
Okay.
like that.
And they were on their way. So I drove that. So the thing is, it came to me with the oil light on, and they were so insistent. Like, we did an oil change. Here's the paperwork. We did the oil change. Eventually, I got around to actually checking the oil. Didn't have any oil in it. I put like 200 miles on it anyways. So, I did all that, and I was having a little too much fun one day, and then I put it in a ditch. So I found some other different idiots on Facebook Marketplace. Well, no, they're not idiots. They were just convenient people who were interested in a trade for an E39 525i with a manual transmission with like a bajillion miles and cigarette holes in the seats, and it smelled like mold.
It
I said,
wasn't
"Hey."
cigarette holes, dude. That was a crack spoon hole. You don't get a hole
Yeah.
that big.
So yeah, they said okay, we'll take this on a trade. I threw it in the back of a U-Haul. I crashed the U-Haul a couple times. And then we got it. And I was looking in the engine bay. I saw the cam guide or the timing chain guide. I was like, what's this doing here? And I'm like, well, this motorcycle's fucked up. I don't really want it. It's like, whatever. So I bought it, and then it sat in my driveway. Oh, I could fix it, and I never did. But down the line, this gentleman in the front driver's seat said, hey, I got the best trade deal in the history of trade deals. And in this moment, I was feeling like Donald Trump, because he brought a running, driving, working car and said, here, I'll give you this for your broken piece of shit BMW. And I said, deal. And now he became the owner of that lovely, untouched BMW.
Whatever happened to the Impreza, which is
sold
what
it.
you traded
I
for
drove it a little bit,
E39.
and then I sold it.
That car was a good car.
Yeah.
You could beat the shit out of that car,
You
and it
did.
would not. I
I have some
did.
very good videos on my phone
Oh,
of
yeah.
you covered in snow
Yeah.
when we were
Oh, the
drifting in
entire
the parking
back
lot.
seat.
Yeah, put 4 people in that car and went and did donuts in the parking
with the
lot.
windows down.
With the windows
that
down.
was a requirement.
Yep. Well, because otherwise it fogged up, right?
With 4 people in there, hot breathing.
Yeah.
Hot breathing.
Yeah. No. So I wanted a rear-wheel drive car, and
As one does.
And I had this one to
This
drive.
is not rear-wheel drive.
No, this for my daily. So I
Yeah.
was like, I want to get a rear-wheel drive.
Well, this is
And-
before you swapped it too, right?
No,
No,
after.
after.
Was it after? Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
That was that long ago.
Yeah, it was a while ago.
God, we're old.
But my idea
Anyway.
was I'll drive this car as my daily for a time, and I'll get his BMW, and I'll fix it, and that'll become my daily, and this one can be parked. That was my idea, right?
How'd that work
So-
out for you?
Poorly. Yeah.
So he thinks he scammed a man to get this car. I thought he scammed himself to get that car.
Yeah, no, I did.
You came to me and said, hey, I want to do this. And I said, that's a very good idea, Justin. You should do that.
Well, it was stick shift, E39, which is pretty rare, And then I drove your E39, and I loved it. And it was the best car just to cruise in, you know? So I'm like, oh, okay, I'll get one of those and I'll love it. And to be fair, I gotta preference this. I did daily drive that car.
I know.
For 6 or 8 months, and it was pretty good. On the highway, it was nice and cozy. Every other factor of that car sucked ass. So Ben mentioned the timing components being loose.
They weren't loose. They were like in the cowl.
Yeah. So I thought to myself, okay, I got to take apart the engine, ensure that everything is proper, and then reassemble it with new timing chains. You know, timing chain, that's basic maintenance. That's not anything too crazy. Well, the more and more I dug into this, the worse and worse it got. Basically, they took off the intake at one point, and then they put it back on, but they didn't bolt it on. So
It's just
from a
dangling.
From a quick view, when all the times I've seen it at Ben's house or when we were out in New York looking at it, it looked like the intake was on, but the intake was not on. And it was parked outside and something, and water came in the intake and just filled up cylinder 4. So the entirety of cylinder 4 was filled with rust. That was bad. The whole bottom crank was pretty stuck in there. So at this point, I'm like, God, do I rebuild this whole engine, like get new rings and hone the walls?
I was going to say, yeah, machine the head.
Yeah, I'm like, God, this is a lot of work, so let me just buy a whole nother engine. And I did. I bought a whole nother engine for it, and I put that one in. And that one I bought for like $400, the engine. So it was pretty decent deal. But I don't know where, I'll get to this later on, but I don't know where that engine went wrong. I can't, I'll get into it later on. The interior smelled of mold.
Oh my God.
So
But
we do
no, you shut up back there.
No, we do need to step back and remember who the owners were. Now, this was a Thursday evening. I remember very clearly. It was like 6 p.m. They were about 16 years old. They were blackout drunk, and they were complaining about their baby mamas and how they need to go do coke. And it's like, bro, they were like yelling at me. And so these are the quality of individuals that were doing this work.
By the way, didn't that guy crash the bike on the test
Yes,
drive?
they dropped it in the driveway because all of his blackout drunk friends were ripping it up and down the their rural road. Like they were hitting like top of third gear. They're still doing like 60 miles per hour, like no gear, no helmet, blackout drunk. And yeah, the guy came into the driveway, just didn't put his feet down right, and just fell over immediately. They had owned it for 5 minutes at this point.
They owned it at that point.
It didn't
for sure.
have a foot peg. That was the big problem, because when I dropped the bike, it sheared off. So they were just sitting there sweating the hot exhaust, driving around.
Well, anyway, when Ben got it, like, you would poke your head in there and be like, you'd smell around and be like, oh, it's a little...
Getting comfy.
That's really loud.
We'll keep talking.
All right. Anyway, when Ben had it, it was it smelled like a little musty. Like, oh, something ain't right here. But it didn't smell that bad. And there was no
joie de vivre.
Yeah.
The rest of the car was so bad that basement smell that you got in there didn't really set off any alarms or anything.
No, it didn't worry me.
Yeah, no, it's fine.
But then Ben parked it outside for a year. And then I parked it outside for a year.
Just festered.
And it just festered, and it turned out that the seal at the top corners of the glass, they were gone. So every time it rained, it just dropped water right into the car. So I ended up taking out the entire interior and steam cleaning it and vinegar bathing it and killing all the mold in it. I'm like, oh, okay, that's solved. It was not solved. I get it all back together.
Can't get rid of mold easily.
Finally, I got the new engine. I did the vinegar bath on the entire interior of the car. Finally put it back together, turn it on. All right, ready to rip. My manual E39. I love it. I get it. And at this point, it wasn't even that bad. It was just like, oh, bad luck again. This is when I was officially fucking over the car. was when I got in the car for my first drive and I put it in first, nothing, wouldn't go in. Put it in second, nothing, wouldn't go in. Put it into third, nothing, won't go in. So I had to do a victory lap. I got in the car and I drove it in fourth gear down my driveway and back. I'm like, I got to do it. It's finally back together. I got to do it. There's literally too many things that went bad on that car to even go over everything, because mice ate the fuel lines, so I had to replace all the fuel lines on it. That was one thing. They gave me the wrong drive shaft with the car, so that was another thing on it. The drive shaft didn't fucking fit, so I had to go track down one of those. And then when I replaced the transmission, right, because I wanted to put a new transmission in it, the original drive shaft they gave me lined up with the new transmission. So I don't understand what they took the good transmission out, put a broken transmission in that didn't fit, and then I made it fit, and then I had to replace it, and I was like, well, fuck, now I got to use the original drive shaft because my new transmission works with it.
Well, I was gonna say, now that I'm thinking about it, the stories that we have are mostly BMW stories.
BMW stories.
Because I know my story is about the diesel wagon that I got from my buddy Wegman back from when I went to high school.
Did you go to high school?
I did go to high school.
Did in fact graduate high school.
Graduated.
Top of your class?
No,
He was top of his kindergarten class.
I was.
Valedictorian
I
of the kindergarten
was.
class.
No,
Can you
but
believe it?
seriously. So my story, I've owned a bunch of cars now, but the one that I was thinking about was, this is 2 years ago now, so June of like 2022. We had just graduated from school. I was waiting to get a job. I was looking to move down to North Carolina because of the weather. But I was thinking, like, I want some new car because I had 3 at the time, but 2 of them were dailies, and I was like, that doesn't make sense. So I wanted something different. And a guy I went to high school with, he has like a ton of drift cars. All he does is just, buys something for $1,000, lets it sit, gets the next one, lets it sit. So he just hoards stuff.
He's got like 35 cars, right?
It's something ridiculous. He lives out of a shop. He lives in the loft, and he just like goes downstairs in Indianapolis. But anyway, what he did a couple of years before then was in 2019, he came up with this grand scheme that he was going to fly to Europe, buy an old car, drive around Europe in that car, then come home, import the car, sell it, and basically pay for the whole trip with the profit. On paper, this could have happened, maybe, but this was pre-COVID, so like used car prices were just kind of what they were. So anyway, he flies to Europe. He ends up finding an E30 touring wagon. It's a manual, it's a base spec, cloth seats, windy windows, no AC, turbo diesel. But for whatever reason, it's got like the cool electric double panel sunroof, which was a big thing on those cars. Green. He bought it from, I don't know if it was the original owner or someone who took really good care of it. He bought it, he drove it to Le Mans that year, watched the race, came back home, imported it, sat in his parents' driveway, and then he never titled it. He lived halfway across the country from his parents. He already had a manual turbo diesel wagon. Like, for whatever reason, his quota was set. So he had no use for it, and it sat for like 3 years. So he had this car that didn't have a title in the U.S., just had import paperwork. And I was like, he's been trying to sell it for a year. He's like, what am I supposed to do? So like, all right, what would you realistically want for it? Knowing I didn't have any money anyway. I go over there, I check it out. It's pretty nice, but I'm like, I'm in no position to do anything right this second. So, if I don't sell it, come back to me, we'll work it out. I moved down to North Carolina. I sell my Focus. I have money in my hand. I'm like, is it available? He said, yeah. He trailers the car down to me from New York. He gives me all the paperwork, and he says, good luck. If you need anything, let me know. Great. So I start calling the DMV and like the police departments. I'm like, how the hell do I title a car that has import paperwork that's not even in my name, right? So I go to the DMV and they're like, listen, you need to get it theft inspected. They need to go over the VIN and just make sure this car isn't stolen. I rent a U-Haul. I take a truck and trailer down at like 8 in the morning on a Wednesday to this giant DMV. I get a detective to like come outside with me to check out the car. He looks at the VIN. Obviously, there's no record of it in their system because it was in Europe its whole life. And he goes, all right, you know, what we can do here is if you can get your friend on the phone, I need to get a picture of his driver's license, and then I can theft inspect it, and then he can go title it. So he gets the title in his name, then he sells it to me like a normal car. Okay? It's 8 in the morning. That means it's 7 a.m. in Indy. He's not awake. I'm calling. The officer's like, listen, man, I'll meet you somewhere after work when we're both available, and, you know, I'll sign it, and then you'll be on your way. Great. Like, the next day, heard nothing from him. Next day, heard nothing from him. I get a text from this detective, and he goes, listen, man, I've been out. I have kidney stones. I'm going back and forth to, like, the hospital. I'm like, that sucks, but, like, can I have my car?
Can I bring the car to the hospital?
Yeah,
for you to
I was,
look
like,
at?
desperately trying to get this guy to work with me. It ends up taking, like, 2 weeks. I finally meet him after work at a parking lot. He signs paperwork. I'm off on my way. This is, like, October. So I've had the car for a month or two already. It's just been sitting in my garage. I'm starting it up, clearing out the fuel system. It's been sitting for a while. I gotta, like, you know, vacuum out all the interior. All the brakes are rusted over. I have to do those. Like, I'm just doing a ton of work in the meantime because I know that the moment that I get that title, I want to drive it. Over the winter, I end up doing a paint correction on it. I end up doing the brakes, the suspension, cleaning out the interior, which was gross. Like, a ton of stuff to make it drivable. Tires. I ended up buying, like, these 18-inch Alpina wheels, like the 21 spokes.
Those are good wheels.
Those are
Before I
very
bought
good
the
wheels.
car. I was so excited for it. So I end up waiting like 6 or 7 months. Just it's sitting in my garage, waiting for paperwork to go through.
What do you mean?
So
How 6 or 7 months?
yeah, so I had to not only wait for this friend of mine to work on his end through the DMVs, but the USPS is like super mega delayed, like it always is. And it's just taking forever and forever and forever. So by now, skip forward to April of the next year. Justin is coming to visit me for his birthday.
Oh,
We're going to
yeah.
go check out Radwood. Radwood's in town. And I was hoping that I would be able to take the wagon to Radwood because it'd kill there. It's got like a roof box and these sick wheels. It's a diesel. Like, it'll kill. I shit you not. Thursday before the event, I get a message from my wagon. Dude, I got the title. It's in my hand. I said, next day that shit. Friday morning comes up. I have it, the title in my hand. I go to the DMV. It's got a plate. It's ready to go. I get back home. Justin's there. I'm like, all right, this could happen. All we need to do is bleed the brakes. We get the car up on jack stands. We're on the last caliper, and we open the bleeder valve and nothing comes out. I'm like, what? Why? What's the problem here? Pump, 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 pump. Nothing's happening. We're like, it's not gonna happen. So Radwood passes. We didn't end up going. We come
went.
back.
We went.
Well, we
just
went. We didn't go
take-
with the car.
Yeah.
We didn't go. We ended up going with the car.
Yeah, we're back. Ben had to take a shit. Sorry about that.
This is a tough one. Fighting for my life over there.
No.
These are subpar facilities for this search of engagement.
Yeah, need that industrial park ass toilet.
Anyway,
They're the one that like will suck it
you
right
still
out of
don't.
you when you flush it.
See, now this podcast is going somewhere. This is funny. I want to hear this.
Why can't we talk?
See, that's the thing.
Yeah.
You can. You can.
You can. We could.
You can. We are.
We're the shit podcast.
Yep.
Hey guys, welcome back to Shitters. Shitters is the next moment shitting podcast where we rate, review, and keep our shits cataloged. It's like the tires, you know? We care about the make, the driver,
log.
the miles.
The log action.
Log.
Speaking of shitty Japanese,
Yeah.
Eric,
Speaking
tell
of
us about that Honda you were just mentioning.
Yeah, I was going to talk about the new Z06 purchase. However, we are talking about the worst purchases that we have purchased, and that would go to my 2004 Honda Element. And I
that
personally,
all of us forgot about.
yeah,
we did forget that.
we kind of blanked it out of our minds because I never even got to registering that car.
Did you ever drive it?
Oh yeah, I drove it around the neighborhood.
I drove
Drove
it.
it out of
I
the
test
swamp.
drove it.
I took it for the next owner took it for a test drive, and then the check engine light came on and it stopped working, so I had to park it for some more time.
Yep.
Yeah.
Can't happen.
It just needed an oil change, just Honda
Yeah,
thing.
just needs an oil
Yeah.
change.
That's what I did.
Rain when parked.
I think he still drives it.
And the check in, you did an oil change and the check engine light went away?
Yeah,
That's-
apparently that's a thing.
Okay.
I'm not a Honda boy.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
Okay.
I bought this car for like, what was it, $2,800?
Too much.
Yeah.
It was manual though.
Yeah, it was manual, all-wheel drive.
Well,
So we thought.
So you thought, yeah.
Yeah, we
there
bought
was
it.
a point in time in its life when it was all-wheel drive.
Yeah.
I bought it from a cigarette smoker down in Syracuse, I think. And I partially blame Joe because he met me there and he gave me the okay.
I was like laying on some guy's trailer's lawn. Like I wasn't gonna give you great advice.
Yeah.
So this is a swamp, like up to the frame type of sunken in.
No.
No, it was just kind of returning to earth underneath.
Yeah, the rear crash bar was half hanging off because it was just rusted, so I just pulled it off. I never put a new one back on.
Crash bar delete. It's a weight saving.
Yeah,
Yeah.
weight
Yeah.
savings,
Weight
exactly.
Yeah,
it's a
they're not-
common
It's
mod
a
on the Elements.
manual Honda. It's for drifting.
If I'm not gonna crash it, why would I need a crash bar?
There was many holes in the frame. I had some guy come from where my dad lives in Massachusetts, 6 hours away, and come look at the car. And he pulls up in a Type R to look at this $2,000 Honda Element. And then he took it for a test drive and was like, I don't know, man. And he says, I'll think about it. And he drives all the way back to Boston, and he never gets back. I'm like,
Holy shit.
That man spent $2,000 in gas to go look
I
at
was gonna
$2,000.
say-
He'd have to come back and get it a second time. He didn't even bring a truck.
he didn't even ask me for like any other pictures or anything. He just kind of came and asked to look at it. I'm just like,
Recently
sure?
divorced ass behavior.
Are you sure
Has
you want to
nothing
look
to
at
do.
this? Yeah. So the inside was probably the worst part. It was fucking disgusting.
So gross.
It was just a combination of mud, cigarettes, and dog hair. Imagine that smell. Just
I'm
pungent
imagining.
through your nose.
Yeah.
And you bought it?
Well, I knew I could fix it.
He was
'Cause
scared of the
you
owner.
didn't
If he said
fix
no,
it. No,
he
I-
knew he was getting shot.
No, the interior, after I was done with it, was mint.
It was.
I basically stripped the interior. It had the rubber floor mats, as all Honda Elements do. So
No carpet.
yeah, maybe the previous owner decided to pressure wash it because maybe that's why there's holes in the floor.
There's like a very well-known myth that
yeah.
you can hose out an element. because
Yeah,
of the
don't
formats.
do that because there's harnesses and modules under the floor.
Yeah.
And the padding under the rubber floor was kind of fucked. It was rotting out, so I replaced that. And I did pressure wash it because I got the whole floor out in my driveway and pressure washed it.
So Joe had his headliner in his living room.
Yep.
You had the floor of the Element in your driveway.
There was at one period of time in my life that there was a camshaft on our kitchen counter.
Yeah.
But we didn't. Those were different.
Justin had these headlights in the oven.
And I did put these
Yeah.
headlights in the oven.
I have to do that to the Corvette. So my mom's not going to like that.
No.
Just wait until she goes to work one day.
Yeah, don't tell her.
Problem with that is I will also be at work, so that doesn't
Take
work.
PTO or wait until you get fired or something.
Laid off.
Laid off.
Laid off.
Yeah.
Laid
Yeah.
off.
Oh man.
Not to mention the.
Could take a sick day for that.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, all breathing into plastic fumes.
Yeah.
You'll need another after that. You're running out of hours at that point.
Yeah, so I put my respirator on and I steam cleaned that whole interior, and it looked brand new. I'll throw a picture up in the podcast or in the video.
You will?
You will.
All right, you
You know.
will.
Anyways,
Joe
Sure.
Somebody will.
I roped a couple of you into helping me with that car. I think Ben. you
Yeah, I
went to
came up
Wilbert's.
because I lived in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you came
Yeah.
from Elmira.
Yeah. Because I was there for a job, and yeah, it wasn't great. So I had nothing better to do but get rust in my eyes. We never really got any of the bolts off. We just chipped rust all over his mom's garage.
Yeah, I had a nice pile of rust. It was vacuumed up. We went to Wilbert's. We got what a trunk lid, I think.
Like that.
Some interior parts maybe, but there was no fixing that car. I mean, mechanically the engine was fine, the transmission was fine. It didn't
Were
have
the
a
drive shafts
It didn't
fine,
have a
Aaron?
drive shaft.
What do you mean?
Somehow
it was a front wheel drive element.
Somehow we missed it when we were looking at it. That it didn't have a drive shaft. I don't know if they took it off
I
after.
wasn't climbing under
But
there.
it
bro.
had a rear diff, but no
Yeah,
drive.
yeah.
It
There
was an
just no
all-wheel drive
shaft.
element.
It was a
that
front-wheel
was
drive
front-wheel
conversion.
drive.
So literally, all I had to do was buy a drive shaft off Rock Auto and just put it in. It worked.
Yeah.
It was an all front wheel drive element.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I know
All
nothing.
front wheels.
Yeah, all front wheels were driven.
This was my first quote unquote project car that I've ever bought because I don't know anything about fixing cars because I was never one of those people who bought like a $500 car in high school and fixed it because I lived with my mother and she's like, no, you got to get something good. You got to get something reliable.
Doesn't your mother live in a 55 and up community?
Not necessarily. But
Not
it's-
necessarily,
Don't
but
dox Aaron's mom.
Yeah.
It's not explicitly written, Ben.
He's not the only Corvette owner in his neighborhood.
Yeah.
That's all you need to know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
What the hell are you doing back there?
Good.
I'm good. Just testing out the acoustics.
Don't dent my tank.
I'm not dead or anything.
Don't dent my tank, bro.
Yeah, I think I sold it for like $2,000 because I just wanted to get rid of it.
Hey, that's a flip. Didn't you make money?
No, I lost like $900.
Bro,
or
you
something.
spent $3,000 on that piece of shit?
Total, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be worse.
So,
I've lost more money on the Corvette so far, so.
bro's a professional money loser.
Tyler
my
Hoover could
resume
never.
is losing money.
If we
Don't buy a car from New York State.
If we were talking about like the worst purchases in particular, I could have talked about the Saab.
Yeah.
The Saab was the worst purchase I probably
I
ever
don't know why
made.
you didn't.
Well,
you just
'cause-
want to flex your German car that you
Well,
no
the
longer
German
own.
car was the weirdest one, but the Saab I didn't own long enough to have like a good story about
Well,
it.
so to step back,
I had it for like 2 months.
the bad part about owning Saab is that you own a Saab. They were
No.
known for going out of business
No,
and
they were-
making weird cars.
Speaking of General Motors, that was General Motors' fault. Saab was a good company. I will die on that hill.
GM didn't.
Well, you're gonna be
own
dying pretty
Saab
soon.
when
Oh
your car
yes,
was built, did they?
Not when. No. Well, they did, but
No,
they
they
had
didn't.
like no hands in the cars yet.
Yeah, they
Like,
didn't start
They didn't
diddling
ruin
with
them
the.
yet.
I had a 900, and mine was a final year. Like the year after, or like the same year, because mine was a vert. If you had a coupe 900, it was like the new gen, the bubbly one based on a Vauxhall whatever. I would, be driving around. I got more honks and like thumbs up in that thing than anything else I've ever owned.
They probably wanted to get their teeth fixed.
Yeah,
Dentist
they thought I
car.
was a dentist.
Is that the one? Yeah, didn't Jerry Seinfeld have one of those in
He
the
had
later
tons.
seasons of Seinfeld?
The entire run.
Yeah.
He had like there was like
There
a
was
black
Well,
one.
there was the episode where they parked with the parade. Were they
There
in
was the
a
Puerto
Saab?
Rican Day Parade. That was
Yes.
a newer one. That was a newer one. He had like my car in the shrinkage episode when they went out to the Hamptons. There are a few good sob shots in that episode of Seinfeld.
Yeah, I don't think the Saab is that notable because he only owned it for 2 months.
2 months.
I think I only
That was
laid
all you
eyes-
owned that car for?
I bought
2
it.
months?
I bought it in
Really?
August and I sold it in October.
I thought it
November.
was long. I could've
Sorry, maybe
sworn
it was like two and a
longer than
half.
that. Yeah.
I only laid eyes on that car twice.
You sat in the trunk.
Yeah,
You did.
that was one of the 2 times I actually looked at it.
No, we had a meeting just like this in the Saab for car club.
Yeah, we crammed like 6 people into 4 seats.
We just started doing like
And that was the other time.
we did laps around campus, just talking about whatever bureaucratic bullshit we were doing.
Important meeting notes.
What year was it? 21, you said, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because right after that I got the Pig.
Pig.
That's a good fucking car.
That was a great fucking car.
Pig.
The Pig was a 2000 Outback Impreza Sport with like golf ball, baseball sized rust holes in the side of it. And I had bought it because the Saab was such a bad choice. And I was like, I need something to keep rust off of the Focus because I didn't want to drive it. And that thing was great, man. I paid $1,000 for it.
Dude, if it wasn't for a Rust, it's a perfect car.
Yeah.
It's still kicking.
Still yeah.
Well, I bought it with, it had a pretty good amount of piston slap on a cold start. So
He did what?
yeah, he did what to his?
What?
No, the engine wasn't super healthy. The suspension was shot. I had to do, the first thing I did with it was struts in the front because it had like kind of like the Bodie wave thing going on in the front. It was all springs.
I think we should bring up the fact that Ben made the joke earlier that Aaron is a professional money loser. And in reality,
Joe
is the ultimate.
Joe has an
loser of
MBA
money
in
and
losing.
No. Hold on. The only car I'm going to lose money on is the Lexus. Because
All
that
I'm
car's a
hearing is-
lost car.
no.
Fucking
I'm hearing
scammed
coke.
your
I
best
made-
friend.
I made.
You scammed your best friend.
What are you talking about?
You gave
Mike?
Yeah.
I didn't scam him. I gave him exactly what I paid. I sold it to him for $1,700 because that's all I had into it. That's all because I had the free car for my aunt coming in. I didn't make a single dime off my buddy. I didn't do
All
it.
I'm saying is if you're not scamming, you're not winning.
The only saving grace,
Hunter ass.
I would have lost all my money on the Saab because I sold it for way less than I bought it for, but it came with so many used parts I sold on like eBay and like the Saab groups that I ended up making like $200.
200, so it's like you spent 3 months.
It was an
and
incredibly-
tons of hours to make 1 day of work.
That was
worth
like
of money.
my consolation prize was at least I didn't go
You
under.
had enough to buy a decent dinner.
That one was rough. That one was really, really rough. I wish I never did that.
So okay, chat. Who is coping the hardest here? Write your answer in the comments down below.
Well, they haven't heard.
me.
They haven't heard. They haven't heard Jacob's story
Well,
yet.
I thought we were going to save that for another episode. Because the car that I'm going to talk about is sitting behind both of these cameras and that one, supposedly.
I mean, we're talking about BMW, so you might as well.
I mean, I
so
can.
to remember, BMW, Bavarian Motorworks, or big money wasted. And
Real.
We seem to be 3 for 3 on BMW stories. 4 for 4 on BMW stories.
We're 4 for 4
that
on
seem to
BMW
follow that
stories.
mantra.
Yeah. I mean,
So
I can.
what's the moral here?
I love
Don't buy
BMWs.
German cars.
Yeah. The
a
moral,
proud German car
the
owner.
moral here is unless you like them, don't buy BMWs.
Which is a
Even if
problem.
you do
because
like
it's
them.
cars.
Still problem, 'cause I love 'em.
Even if you do like them, seriously consider.
Avoid.
That's what
Get out.
I've been doing recently. I said, I'm so fucking tired of owning German cars. Nothing but problems.
And you
I
got
test
into your
drove-
German car.
I test drove a Japanese car. I'm like, all right, you know, it was a Lexus LS400. The exterior, whatever. It wasn't perfect, but I was driving. I'm like, you know, it's okay. And then I got back in my German car after not driving one for 6 months. Like, yeah, fuck all this Japanese car. It's like, nah. I like throwing money into a
The
hole.
water pump's leaking.
Yeah.
The exhaust is held on by ratchet straps.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
paint's falling off.
Yeah, it's got a lot of problems.
They
If
have
you want to
the-
buy it, it's for sale. But you know,
Mine's probably for sale by the time this
it's
goes up.
theoretically
Yeah.
for sale. Make me an offer
You haven't
above
even
market
said
value.
what kind of car it was.
Yeah, who gives a shit? It's for sale.
It's German and broken. Like,
Yeah.
don't buy it. Whatever it is, don't buy it.
I will give you a hint. It's from the Volkswagen Group.
I feel bad for the single mother that's gonna buy it. Off
I know. As long as she pays me good money for it, I will sleep soundly. It'll buy me a new pillow.
My pillow.
Hey, if Mike Lindell wants to buy it, then he can too.
Oh
You can
man.
edit that out if you'd like. It's very funny though, so I'd leave it in.
You tell Joey how to edit the video.
I mean, if he gives a shit or not.
I don't. That's the spoiler.
So this is the behind-the-scenes commentary that they're coming to hear. And hear the behind-the-scenes of the lifestyle.
They're coming to hear the log.
Yeah. Yeah.
My car is for sale. It's a 2017 Volkswagen GTI. I'm not going to give you the license plate, but you can come find me and buy it for me.
Yeah, I'm gonna bleep all of that out.
License plate, I don't actually know what it is off the top of my head. I think it has an E in there somewhere.
Well, I think we can wrap it up here. I think we can safely say this was somewhat successful first podcast, huh, boys?
You'll see on the fucking editing floor how
Oh,
successful it is.
One yap session complete.
One
All right,
yap
so we do
session.
another yap session.
Nah, I want to play pinball.
Yeah, let's go play pinball. See you guys later, I guess.
Bye.